Most of my life I've been using food as probably one of the main solutions to relieve constant feelings of inadequacy, overwhelm and guilt. Food has always been a huge dopamine reward for me. Hi there, I'm Maria Agbaba. I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I am now 32 years old and I was diagnosed with ADD or inattentive ADHD when I was 30. Since then, I devoted a tremendous amount of my time learning about ADHD, about the traits related to this condition, and basically learning why I do the things the way I do. I picked up a habit of mindless grazing when I was still a kid, because this is the behavior model that I've seen in my family with undiagnosed ADHD. I was also used to eating very fast and forgetting that I meant to stop eating before I realized that I was overstuffed. Especially this was happening in the evening when my willpower was at its lowest. I would ask myself, why did you eat so much again? And oftentimes I didn't even like the food that much, but I still ended up overeating. Not being able to control seemingly such a simple thing like food intake always made me feel ashamed and helpless. So like many dieters, I was mostly taking all or nothing approach. I wouldn't eat all day long and then inevitably became all shaky and ravenous and eat whatever I could carve down. I was actually thinking that if I eat during the day, this would just add up to my evening binges, so I didn't see the point of doing that. And this story repeated itself over and over again, day after day, year after year, always leaving me wondering, why don't I have any willpower by the end of the day? Why can't just I eat like everyone else does? Then on other days, I just needed that dopamine hit. So much that I had these strong sugar cravings and I couldn't stop myself from snacking all day long. Well, that's kind of my family tradition, as I mentioned earlier. I've also noticed that when I try to cut off all the bad stuff and eat less, my ADHD symptoms became much worse, which made the rest of my life extremely difficult. Even though I didn't know I had ADHD until 2 to 3 years ago, but looking back, I can totally see that. It took so much mental effort to limit myself that I couldn't focus on anything else. That's why dieting always felt like torture. But I wouldn't stop trying, making the same mistakes and expecting different results somehow. I didn't know how to cook until I was like 20 years old. I was convinced that cooking just wasn't my thing. Eventually, I did learn a few things, but I didn't really like cooking in general. I was forgetting to do groceries, was getting distracted while making meals, so it took me forever to do that. The kitchen was always a mess afterwards and whatnot. Plus, there was a lot of waste too, like spoiled meat and fresh produce. So basically, I've struggled with planning my shopping and meal prep. When I was studying for a personal trainer, the information about detrimental effects of sugary and fast foods just struck me. So again, I tried to go from 0 to 100 and got on another strict plan which didn't allow any cheating. All food was divided into good and bad and nothing in between. But of course this wasn't a sustainable approach, especially with my ADHD-driven poor self-control. I just couldn't possibly keep up with this kind of lifestyle. The periods of deprivation were always followed by binging episodes, which always left me frustrated and disappointed in myself. Because now I already knew what I should and shouldn't eat for my overall well-being, not just appearance, but still couldn't able to stay consistent. When I was obtaining my wellness coach and then later on a nutrition coach certifications, I've learned that just by knowing that some food is bad for you, it doesn't automatically mean that now all of a sudden you are able to easily avoid it. Quite the opposite. Restriction dismisses the huge emotional component of food, which is quite normal, by the way. We are supposed to enjoy our food. Finally, I've realized that restriction only increases my cravings and reward-seeking behaviors. On the other hand, a commonly used approach of eating everything but in moderation doesn't work for everyone either, does it? In my ADHD world, this means constantly making poor food choices because there are no clear rules. It's like someone with unhealthy relationships with food is sent to a buffet. Here, go moderate yourself. I don't think it's such a good idea. At the end of the day, food quality absolutely matters, and focusing on building healthy eating habits is a must when it comes to changing unhealthy eating patterns. I've learned this the hard way. It really took me a long time, lots of trials and errors, lots of studying nutrition and behavior change. But when I finally did, I understood the methodology of healthy eating for people whose brain is wired to erratic eating behaviors. I felt like I became a totally new person. And I knew that I just had to try and help others who struggle with similar issues to find their way to healthy eating. That's why I made this course. It's an easy to follow step-by-step guide that's designed to help you improve the quality of your life and regain control of your body despite your ADHD. Because of my ADHD and because of the behaviors I developed when I was a kid, I really had a lot to work on to get where I am today. But the change is absolutely possible. I also want to mention that the program is not just based on my personal experience. It actually contains proven, research-backed methods that give people tools to start getting long-term results and true health and body transformations, one day at a time.